Hey, what's up, people? What's up, people? Comment ça va, les gars? Allez, les Français. I'm saying this because today I'm just going to be talking about what an American is saying about the First Lady of France, Brigitte Macron. But before I even attempt, I know I've made a couple of videos about her allegations, her claim, her investigation, her grief, her scam, her con. You can label it how you want.
Brigitte, the real one, passed away in 1984. That is my theory. I believe that she passed away either during childbirth or shortly after. I don't know this for a fact. This is just my theory, and I go over my theory in greater detail in my other video, so if you haven't watched it, please go check it out. Okay, so the business where Jean-Michel Trogneux was working at, Bacardi Metal, closes down in 1984. And this is also the year that apparently Brigitte all of a sudden moves 6 hours away and becomes a teacher. Is it possible that the reason the business had to close down was because Jean-Michel Trogneux left to go become a teacher and to become his sister? One of the many reasons I believe this is plausible is because the timeline is so sketchy. Right after giving birth to a child, Brigitte makes this random career change. In 1982, the person who I believe is the real Brigitte worked at the North Pas-de-Calais Chamber of Commerce as like a press secretary or press officer, and this job was in Lille, France. On January 30th, 1984, she gives birth to Tiffany Ozier, and despite being a new mother to a third child, mind you, all of her children were very young at this time, just months after giving birth to a baby, she moves all the way to Schwechtersheim, which is almost 6 hours away from where she was previously living, and she takes a teaching job in Strasbourg. Mind you, no journalists have been able to substantiate that Brigitte had the necessary credentials to even become a teacher, but somehow she did. And while living in Schwechtersheim in March of 1989, this mother of 3 young children then decided to run for public office, which, by the way, she lost. I think the reason Brigitte was free to move 6 hours away and start a new career and run for public office is because she wasn't taking care of those children, okay? Or as we say in the islands, she was not minding her picnics, okay? I think André Ozier was the one raising those children all the way back in Lille, and I think he initially had no idea that Jean-Michel Trogneux was 6 hours away impersonating Brigitte. Now, disclaimer, I don't know this for a fact. This is just my theory based on the evidence that I've seen. And I found some very compelling circumstantial evidence to support my theory. I present to you the deed to the sale of a house that occurred in 1988. This property was located at 67 Rue Saint-Louis-le-Touquet, Paris-Plage. If I mispronounce any French words, don't at me in the comment section. Okay, I grew up learning Canadian French, and Canadian French is ghetto as okay? Anyways, we see here the last names of the 2 buyers, which is Leslin and Dupuis, and we have the information for the owners who are selling the property. We have the Trogneux parents, Jean-Georges Trogneux and his wife Simone. We see their dates of birth. We see where they were born. They were both born in Amiens, and we see where they live, which is together in Amiens. That's what demeurant ensemble means. It means they lived together. We also see Brigitte Trogneux listed here as a seller. She is a French teacher, and she was born in Amiens. Her date of birth is April 13th, 1953, and she lives in Schwechtersheim. And they have her address, 4 Rue des Coquelicots. And next, they have her husband, André Ozier, and oh, there is a comma and a gap. If sentence shaped, why no sentence? It appears as though this official record was tampered with, and no, it wasn't me. There's no date of birth, there's no place of birth, no profession, and no address.
Yeah, that's fine.
Asking the important questions right now, so let's roll a clip.
Does the president of France's wife have a or not?
That's the question. And do you know what I was thinking while I had some time? I was thinking, isn't it interesting that Jean-Michel Trogneux didn't sue me? Like, wouldn't that actually make more legal sense? Because in America, it's virtually impossible to sue a public figure because of the actual malice standard. Like, you have to prove, because I think that public figures, it's a part of the public interest. People are allowed to cover them and ask questions. And you have to meet what's known as the actual malice standard, which I think I've explained in the past. But essentially that this person knew the truth 100% and acted in reckless regard of it just because they didn't like the individual. They just had malice against them. But if Jean-Michel Trogneux had sued me, that standard would have been removed. Jean-Michel Trogneux could have said, excuse me, this person is saying that I transitioned into my sister and that's not appropriate. And then they would perhaps have a very legitimate claim if they could prove that I knew the truth. But they're not doing that. Jean-Michel Trogneux is not suing me. They're not interested actually in exploring that at all. I wonder why that is. Or maybe Jean-Michel Trogneux is suing me under a new name, Brigitte Macron. And look, I also want to say that there's a tiny piece of me that feels bad for Emmanuel Macron, because I was speaking with somebody and they were asking, why do you think that this sitting president of France actually filed this lawsuit in America? It's completely crazy. And then suddenly it dawned on me, OMG, I think that Brigitte and Emmanuel thought that if they filed this lawsuit, that I would just be a normal person and shut up, because most people would just be, oh, I'm being sued, let me just shut up for a little bit. But no, that's not how things work in America. They don't understand the cultural differences between America and France. You can't just file a lawsuit to make an American shut up, right? Noisy is actually our brand. Like, we take pride in not minding our own business. That's who we are. Like, we don't know our forks from our knives. We're not going away, and we are going to figure out what happened to Jean-Michel Trogneau. So guess what I've done? I have actually started the process of emailing them even more questions this week. More questions, because I want to get to the bottom of this for the entire world. And we recently left you guys on a cliffhanger, okay? And it's getting interesting. Something actually has me completely seized. I am obsessed. I'm locked in, like nothing else matters. I have my team working on this 24/7. So many of you guys accurately pointed out, that when we introduced to you guys the individual that kind of looks like Jean-Michel Trogneau, that was a part of the Stanford prison experiment. It showed up in a documentary, that side image, like, who is this person? And many of you guys emailed us and said, okay, but Candace, look further into those documents. And prisoner number 2093 that participated in this experiment looks a lot like our missing boy, right? Like, that looks like Jean-Michel Trogneau. And I have to say, like, initially I put it at a low percentage, but I'm exploring every single lead. I said, okay, I'll just do a little light research into this topic. And there's a couple of things that I want you to remember as I unpack to you what happened next. Okay, first and foremost, Jean-Michel Trogneau goes missing for like a decade, more than a decade. And we know for a fact a couple of things that he was involved in throughout those.
What is the first thing when it comes to mind when you're thinking about a politician? A politician who is trying to get into power. What is politics? Politics is about the game of addition, not subtraction. Politics is about popularity. Politics is about bringing up policies that people are going to listen to, believe in, and have hope for the future. Can you imagine what an opposition leader will do if the other person they are going to be competing against has a scandal? Before you even venture into politics, before people start to lobby for you to be the leader of a party, people have to know you. Investigations will be done. People have to know if there are any skeleton in the closet that they need to know before they actually put their money to back you. The person or the woman that the current president of France defeated, not one time, 2 times. This lady, Marine Le Pen. Do you really think that if this claim that the wife of the president was born a man was true, do you know what the opposition leader would have done with that? Because that is a scandal. And in politics, when there is a scandal, some people do not last. The only politician who scandals makes him more popular is Donald J. Trump, because he knows how to use them. That is his MO. That is how he was brought up. He knows the game. He knows the game. And I cannot say he's a criminal, but he is somebody who has a very dodgy past. And he knows it. That is why a few days ago, he was saying that he doesn't know that he will go to heaven if he dies. And the only way he can go to heaven is to, stop the war in Ukraine. He said it himself. If a human being can say it themselves, I know all of us are not perfect. But if you can openly say you're not sure that you'll go to heaven, what does that say about you? Anyway, we are not here to talk about Donald Trump some other time. By the way, people, I was listening to this young lad yesterday from South Africa, and he was talking about the only currency we've got, which is time, and how do we use our time. And yesterday, it dawned on to me that, you know what, this YouTube is for everybody. This YouTube is not for some special people. By the way, those who created the platform, we all have to say a massive thank you for them, because this YouTube has changed a lot of lives. And anybody can start a channel on YouTube, because not everything on YouTube is based on fact. YouTube is a place where people just come to listen and get entertained. Yeah, there are some very, very educational channels on YouTube, but most YouTubers, everybody comes in, put a mic, put a camera, and just say what they think, say what they feel. So let's go back to Marine Le Pen and the Macron wives being born a man. So imagine this woman lose to Macron the first time, and then she again contested the second time. Imagine if, just think of it, if Brigitte Macron was born a man and is now claiming to be a woman, and not saying that she is a transgender, but saying that she was born a woman, and she has got 3 children from her first marriage. Can you all just think? Can you all think for 1 second? If this was anything that had any base in truth, do you know that the election, the second election that Marine Le Pen lose against Macron, who is married to the so-called man who is now a woman and lying, can you imagine what that opposition leader would have done with this scandal? Because there was no way that Macron would have won. And again, so the whole of France, nobody really cares about this. Only an American. So an American has decided to save the whole France. We all need to sometimes just take one, just lean back and ask yourself, don't just listen and listen and listen. A lot of us on YouTube, we just listen and read comments. We don't even use our brain. I think I need to change my channel to use your brain. Use your brain or think for yourself. That is a good YouTube channel. Use your brain. Think for yourself. If this thing was true, every opposition leader in France would have been using this against Macron. But by the way, have you guys, all you guys who are thinking that this is true, have you guys checked the kids, the children of Brigitte Macron, and see their resemblance? Have you guys seen her daughter, Tiffany? She is a carbon copy of her mom. Her hands, her legs, her face, her nose, her lips, her hair, everything is a carbon copy of Brigitte Macron. So if Brigitte Macron was born a man, who is the mother of those children? Or, because the resemblance of Tiffany to the mom is unmistakable. You can see the resemblance is unmistakable. So if Brigitte Macron is, as Candy Owens claim and others, that she is maybe Jean-Philippe Trogneux, how they are saying. So that means this is today I've actually gone to Wikipedia and checked. That means Jean-Philippe Trogneux is the father of Tiffany, right? Because the resemblance is, you cannot mistake the resemblance. And then that means Brigitte, who you guys are saying is Jean-Philippe, was married to a man. Because I saw another lady was saying that Brigitte abandoned the kids when she got a new job in, what's it called? I've forgotten how to pronounce that town. And she left the kids behind for the dad to take care of the kids. That doesn't make sense, because if you all are saying, oh, hang on, or maybe they're trying to say Brigitte Macron died. I think Candace Owens said something like that, and Jean-Philippe then took her identity. So what age did Brigitte Macron die then? The real Brigitte Macron, what age did she die? Did she die after the death of the husband? Or what age did she die? So who was the teacher that fell in love with Macron? Was it Jean-Philippe? Or was it Brigitte when she was still alive? People, let's try and use our brains, because they have brought a lot of stuff. One, they said Jean-Philippe looks like Macron. That means they are relatives. And then they said Brigitte fell in love with Macron at Amiens, and then the parents of Macron had to take Macron away from that city and out of that school because they did not support their son's relationship with an older woman. Okay, so that means at that time Brigitte already transitioned into a woman, or did she actually transition? And if she did, the parents of Macron, did they know that their son was actually falling in love with a transgender? And if they knew and they did not like it, don't you think that because one, she or he, let me just say she or he, was much older than their son and a transgender, and they did not support of the relationship? Those are the two reasons. That one, that she's a trans and hiding, would have been a reason for them to blow alarm, to tell the whole of France that, by the way, Brigitte is not a woman, it's a man. Because by then, transgenders, I don't know if they were something that was accepted in France, or people were still like being like, je ne sais pas. Because that's the time that Brigitte Macron would have been ousted by the parents of Emmanuel Macron, because they did not support that relationship. That's why people should use their brain sometimes. YouTube, most of these people in YouTube will sit in their basement and just say, my team is investigating. My team is investigating. There's no investigation. They have a team that knows how to put together a story, because YouTube is all about views. By the way, I need you guys to start viewing my videos too. This channel is my channel, and I am a personal trainer. So what I'm going to be doing now, I'm going to be mixing my real life and some YouTube reactions. So if you can subscribe, that would be awesome. Like, comment, and if you are trying to transform your body, I don't know what to do. If you are looking to get a good eating plan to get your body in the right way, you'll get them all here, and you also get reaction. There's no specific niche that I'm going to be reacting to. I'm going to react to whatever video I see, whatever video I like, but I'm going to try to use my brain. As I was saying, you guys should sit and reason with me. If the parents of Emmanuel Macron were not in favor of their son dating a much older woman, but that was wild. She was 39 and she fell for a 15-year-old boy. Yes, the age of consent in France was 15. I don't know if it has changed. Don't you think the parents would have blown the alarm? Don't you think the parents would have said, no, la femme là, ce n'est pas une femme, c'est un garçon? Because French people, they do not mince their word. That is why this thing is just bullocks. Because French people do not mince their word. For example, in France, if you're fat, people will tell you you're fat. They will tell you in your face. If you go to France, if you're in Paris, and you're asking for direction, a Frenchman, if they don't want to tell you, they will not tell you. Last time I was in France, we were going to Disney. I was asking this guy in the train if that train was the last stop to Disney. That guy said he did not know. Surprise, surprise. I asked another person, they said yes, it was the last stop. And that guy who told me he did not know, he was coming out at the last stop. He probably was working in Disney, and this guy was a responsible guy. His last stop was Disney. So in France, if this thing was true, French people will call it how it is. French people do not mince their word to make you happy. They don't care. They say, moi, je te dis. They say, moi, je m'en fous. French people say, I don't care. They tell you in your face. So this thing, if really, because you know, what I believe is, everybody knows. Candace Owens, her past is checked. We know she shit on her people when it's time to make money. And then she tries to go back to her people when she wants some favor. When she gets the favor, she shit on her people. She started this and she saw how, because Americans are full of, there are lots of dum-dum. There are lots of people in America who do not actually use their brains. They receive information, it goes past this way. They do not ask like how, why. That doesn't make sense. They do not ask those questions. Because if they did, they would have been kicking. I know a lot of people are kicking against, but there are so many who are still dumb down. That's why when Candace Owens put on a show, you always see like 1 million, 1.5 million. That 8-part docu-series has got close to 16-20 million viewers, and if you go to the comment section, they are believing. Americans, not even French people. Go and check on ChatGPT. ChatGPT will tell you, in France, nobody really cares. And actually, Brigitte Macron is well respected in France. You see, in France, people just know. People know it's the conspiracies. Because if people did care in France, the opposition leader would have... Candace Owens would have been having a job in France by now. She would have been having a job. Upon all the millions of French citizens. Candace Owens is the one. I know somebody's gonna say, yeah, the journalist who started this. That journalist also is a conspiracy theorist like Candace Owens. If truly you are going to say that journalist, it was started in France, why are French people? French people, they don't care. They don't care. To them, that's a no-show story. The opposition leaders, they don't care. Have you ever heard Marine Le Pen saying this? She is now serving how many? I think it's a couple of 5 years banned from going for any political. From 5 years, she's banned for 5 years from campaigning for any political office. By who? By the Macron justice system. So if this was true, she would have used this against Macron. She would have been using this against Macron. She's lost to Macron twice. And even before Macron, went in to be the president of France, Macron was already married to this lady. Macron campaigned to be the candidate for the party. What is it called? The party En Marche. The guy was campaigning against. He didn't bring this up. And only an American podcaster, she says she's an American podcaster in her basement, has decided to save the world. Save the world from what? That is what is keep. When she says I'm saving the world from what? Saving the world from what? Everybody who has ever supported Trump, they learn one thing from Trump. Do not ever accept that you lie. Double down, triple down. Lie, lie, lie until people start believing your lie. That is what is happening now. That is what is happening. Anyway, people, all I had to say today was Candace Owens is trying to tell us that the whole of France are dumb. The opposition politicians are dumb. Is she trying to tell us that as she's making this to be like a big scandal? Why are the opposition politicians in France not using this? Why are they not using this? Because if this was true, like there will be no way for Macron. Because that means not only Brigitte is lying, her children are also lying. The wedding was fake. Or maybe they're telling us that Brigitte, the original Brigitte, is dead, buried somewhere, and then there's a fake Brigitte now. That means the president of France is gay. That means Emmanuel Macron is gay, or what are they telling us? I know he hasn't got kids, but if you marry a woman who is almost how many years? 39, almost 24 years. So, but let's say when they fell in love, she was 39, he was 15, right? When did they get married? How old was he? That means she couldn't bear children anymore. But Macron too. Boy, oh boy. So all this long you've been shagging a grandma. Shagging is, I know you know what shagging is. You've been shagging a grandma. So Macron's never, who was his first girlfriend, by the way? Or else he's never had a different girlfriend apart from Brigitte Macron. Anyway, people, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about this case, because Candace Owens keep making videos every day. She's not going to stop. I think what she's decided is to make as much money as possible, because those videos are still being viewed millions of times and the money is coming in. So that's what she's decided, make as much money as possible, so that if you lost the case, and I think what she's banging is they are going to, she's not going to lose the case. They are not going to find actual malice. That's what she's banging on. That they will go and say, no, you know what? Macron was a president of France, public figure, and there was no actual malice. That is what she's banging on. And by then, she would have made a lot of money. I think that is what she's banging on. But anyway, people, let me know what you think. And don't forget, smash the subscription button, like, comment, and I'll see you back on the next one. Peace out.